Thank you again for joining this video. I wanted to provide another update. Making a video actually is a little bit easier than writing all this down, so that's why I'm doing this. I wanted to mention that this last week, was the weekend and the long weekend, the end of the year, and so I had more time than usual to work on icons. And even though I had more time, this doesn't mean that they are perfect. So eventually, when we finish the first pass of building all of these icons, we will require that you help us with your feedback. Now, focused feedback is good. Broad and wide open feedback is probably not as helpful. So just keep an eye out for specific feedback, which is, making shapes more consistent, looking for something that looks easier on the eyes than before, simplified, more standard. But I think, every so often as we request feedback, we get things that are widely unapplicable. So it's hard to apply the feedback. And so usually when I request feedback, I try to be very clear that focus feedback is better. Sort of like, I don't like it, don't use them. That is not as helpful as, what if you make this shape a little bit different and I notice that there is an inconsistency in this icon and that icon. Do you want to make them the same? That's helpful, that's actionable. But with that in mind, I wanted to mention some of the changes I did this week. I'm gonna focus on this row right here, this row in the middle. So I'm gonna just select one of them this one right here, and you'll notice that I made a few changes. So let's go back to what Breeze currently looks like, which is on this side. And you'll notice that the shapes changed a little bit, particularly this lasso tool, which, when being very critical of it, I don't see a lot of connection to a lasso tool. So I decided that maybe we wanted to make a connection with a drawing, and you'll see the change for that. I also intervened this 8 or so shapes a little bit more than usual, because if you notice, in the current Breeze system, this expand a column, contract a column, delete a column, add a column, rows, and etc. They're very detailed. And that is one of the advantages of using 1 pixel lines. But when you use thicker lines, you don't have as much leeway to make complex shapes. But I'm also thinking that maybe in these shapes right here, in the current Breeze shapes, for these cell and spreadsheet operations that you see, it's hard also to make out what they're about, in my mind. And so I thought, hey, maybe this is an opportunity to make these shapes a little more simple, a little bit more striking, more standard. And I investigated a lot about how other applications are doing their cell operation icons, and landed on a couple of things that I'm going to show you in just a minute. The rest of the shapes are fairly simple. They are not too complex, but I did work a lot on this arrow right here. And funny enough, it's not a simple shape, and this is one of the things that we have to be cautious of. When you make a shape such as arrows, folders, chevrons, copy and paste, these are widely used operations. So that means that icon will appear almost universally throughout your entire UI, because these are very universal actions. And so we have to get them right. We have to make them look perfect, because otherwise some of them will look good, others will not look so good, and we will make our users crazy, and we don't want that. So I also reused some shapes. So earlier in the editing, I created a new shape for the key icon, and I reused it here, so you'll see the result. I created the chevron with an icon here, and I did something a little bit interesting. If you notice, in the current Breeze icon, this is centered as 2 shapes. And I don't know if that looks the best. And I don't know if that's very standard today. So instead, what I did is I moved this to the center and I made the shape kind of be to the side, like some of the other shapes that we have on Breeze. So we're not centering the a composed shape. We're centering the chevron, and then the exclamation point is to the side, like we do in other shapes, like this one, for example. So you'll see that alignment change soon. Then this ones over here, I think they belong to Calligra, the Calligra suite. They're not very complex, so I just basically recreated them with a thicker line. Then the Thunderbolt, I recreated it, and these shapes right here, I believe they are for, graphical application operations, and so they're, move shapes clockwise and then swap places between shapes. That's what they're trying to do. Anyway, so this is the result, and excuse all the littering that I have across this whole thing. It's just that it's part of the work, but I reused this shape that we created last time. I just modified it a little bit, and here is the new lasso icon. I think it kind of drives the point more clearly that you're using a kind of a graphical tool to draw a selection area by hand in a very fine detail. So I did that. The editing location here, I overlapped it because it seemed the best. I reused the letter A from a different shape that I used before. The pointer icon, the node editing icon, I changed it up a little bit, and actually this looks a lot closer to what our current Breeze pointer looks like. So I think there might be some point of connection there. And then the cell operation changed and were vastly simplified. So union, separation or split, delete column, delete row, add column on the left, on the right, add a cell at the top or at the bottom, add a cell in the middle. And I feel very happy about what I see here. I feel like it's a little bit closer to what you would do. And actually, I used Jira as a reference. Jira has operations like these, and they use very simple icons to indicate the changes that you're doing in cells. So it was a good inspiration. As you can see, I reused some shapes here. I did the icon, and goodness, I'm already seeing a problem here with, sorry. There. Now it's perfect. There we go. Now the shape is perfect. Before it had too many pixels. Now that might be a little too low, like too small, but as we test, you let us know. We're happy to change this. And by the way, this probably should be like this. So there, anyway, I'm a perfectionist, so I'm always like editing as I go. My bad. I don't mean to distract you. But yeah, that's one change, and I think that's where I'm landing for right now with the back shape. This is an emboss shape, and it's supposed to show differences between depth in a graphic. And if you notice in the previous shape in Breeze, this area on the outside was all one color. And if you're doing an emboss, then you're basically given a perspective. So I thought, hey, why don't we try to mimic that perspective by making the top graphic, the top corners darker and the bottom ones lighter. That way they look like they have that 3D effect in a very simple way. I don't know if it's very striking, but it seemed very good to me. This next shape is very simple. It's just it's called an entity icon. I'm not entirely sure where it's used. Then the star and the shapes over here. Here's the key. Add a new key icon, and then here's the chevron. And by the way, I did not center it right, so we're gonna do this. There we go. There we go. There we go. And we're gonna do the same. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's centered the wrong way. Let me see. Let's do a little trick here. There we go. And we're gonna move this here. Oh, on the other one is 3. And we're gonna do a little trick here. Oh, that's not good. Okay, I need to fix that, but it's not, it needs to be in the center. And I believe that's the common center. I'm gonna bring the pattern here and I'll fix them up. But that's basically the shape. I rounded up the shapes a little bit. I made them more consistent. They line up to the grid. And then come these ones over here that, like I said, they're very simple. They just received a little rounding. Then the Thunderbolt icon, plus these other ones at the end. And I basically just reused shapes. These are shapes we already have in the collection that I have already edited. So I'm bringing those in to integrate them. For example, these top arrows, like corner arrows, I have them right here. So I just took them and reused them. And then these ones over here, this up and down, those come from this shape right here, this clock. So I just took it and reused it. All right, well, that's what, it's just a little update. As you can see, I have a lot more work to do. Any help is welcome, so let us know.